Good morning and welcome to Namaste today, a joyful way to begin your day. I'm your heartfelt host and the Sensei to Serious Joy, Christopher Witecki. This audio blogcast is for Wednesday, April 12th, 2017. Welcome to a new day, my friend. Namaste. Well, today we're in the aftermath of a big full moon and we're on countdown to a galactic launch to our destiny. In today's zodiac weather, I'll talk about how the sun is conjuncting Uranus, and that means it is launch time. And later in your tea time, considering all the crazy politics going on, I thought I'd talk about astrology and our world karma at the moment. But first, let's take a look at today's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is for Wednesday, April 12th, 2017. And my global forecast for the Earth is cloudy and private today. Step 23 rules the day, putting us all into our high retrograde minds, and the moon moves into Scorpio, making everyone defensive. Let's take a look at the planets. Today, my friend, is a day of pensive, introverted thinking and processing. What you are processing is whether or not to go to the next step in your personal transformation. Step 23 rules the day. That is what we feel, that's the 2, and what we believe, that's the step 3. When the 2 and 3 come together, we have a mastermind, or we come up with the final aha moment, the clarity of our mind being able to get around what all this change has been about. Now, since Mercury is retrograde and stationary still at step 4, this is likely the point today where your mind finally accepts and receives where it is that your character belongs, where your story belongs, and where you belong, or who you belong becoming, I should say. Now, what's interesting is Saturn is retrograde in Sagittarius at step 27, conjuncting the galactic center, and so the universe is making us become responsible for the story we were meant to live. And so part of this high-mindedness, if you will, this big picture understanding of yourself, is really coming into final clarity about what your destiny is here on Earth, or at least the next step. For many of us, it is just the next step. There is this uncovering of who we really are on the inside. The next step will lead to who we are on the inside, and then who we are on the inside will lead to our destiny. So even though we are looking for our actual path, the path is within, my friend. It is about discovering who you really are and who you wish to become next. What is also interesting is the asteroid Pallas. Pallas has now migrated to step 4, Aries, and this means that Pallas is getting to the bottom of, that's what Pallas is, the wise owl of the zodiac, getting to the bottom of who your character truly is at step 4. So with Pallas at step 4 and Mercury at step 4 and the sun about to conjunct Uranus, which is the ruling planet of step 4, you are on a launch pad, my friend, to a new version of yourself. In fact, in the next 24 hours, it's about your mind really understanding what it is that place is, and then you allowing yourself emotionally to go there. In fact, emotion is probably a big part of the equation, getting ourselves emotionally ready for this shift, getting ourselves comfortable with this shift. The moon is in Scorpio and climbing up through Act 2 during the day. That means your emotions will be ready to let go of the past, and by the end of the day, your emotions will be opening up to the possibility of the future. So you could say today is literally about getting your mind and your feelings on the same page about where it is your character belongs. Now, if you want some examples, it might be as simple as something in your daily life, that you don't belong being in the audience, you belong being on the stage. You don't belong necessarily being the director of the PTA anymore, you belong just being a parent. Well, there'll be some sort of minor example in your daily life, but it represents a major shift of where you work and the level that you operate on a daily basis. In fact, tomorrow, when the sun crosses Uranus, it'll cross at step 24, which is where we feel, step 2, that we belong. So in the next 24 hours, you're getting your mind and your feelings on the page of where you feel you belong. And at that point, it really is go time. Venus retrograde is wrapping up here on Saturday. And so once the sun crosses Uranus, you will have all the past life information, reenactments, and reconsideration in play. And even though Mercury is retrograde, which means we're going to continue to look at things from the inside out until May 4th, it will be go time with your new character, and I have to say, what you're manifesting. I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. Although we're changing our character, with Mars way up at step 23 in Taurus, it tells me that Mars being the ruling planet of Aries, our focus is actually on something we hope to manifest. So we're all looking to manifest a new life, a new production, new value, new something. And at the same time of understanding where your character is going, you're probably also going to mastermind where your manifestations are going. Mars is also at step 23 today. So this means your heart and its expansion and its awareness is exactly in synchronicity with whatever projects you are manifesting. So again, like I said earlier, you can just focus on the project you're manifesting and the character change will be inevitable. I'll wrap up this zodiac weather by basically saying there's two areas you definitely want to protect today. One is you want to hold space. In other words, don't let any part of yourself interfere with your ability to take new control of your life. So leave some space and time without judgment, without any interruptions, for you to find a new control of your life where you feel in control and you feel like you're in the driver's seat. The other area that needs protection actually is Black Lilith, which is at step 6 Sagittarius. You're going to find that fears about relationships, particularly relationships that are aligned with a path, a destiny, or some sort of a travel, for instance, some sort of fears around relationships related to missions and related to your calling will come up. So if you had a spiritual partnership in a past life that went really sour and you were both, let's say, fighting in the Crusades together, okay, you might fear that it's all going to go wrong again by moving down that path. At the same time, a lot of people are literally with Venus retrograde having issues with their relationships, and it may not be the relationship itself that's a problem, but rather that your soul is still harboring fears about these relationships. So be prepared with the moon in Scorpio today. Take a little time and space with these fears and put some light into them, shed some light into them. All right, and speaking of shedding some light, I thought I'd talk about an interesting topic that people often ask about. Go steep yourself some tea. Let's have our daily tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is U.S. World Karma. And by U.S., of course, I mean the United States. And I'm, of course, referring to all the chaos that's been going on since President Trump took office. And, of course, this is of no surprise to any of us. When I say any of us, I mean, first of all, the public. We've seen nothing but chaos since that man started running for president. And so it's not surprising that we would see chaos now. But it's also not surprising that we're under sort of, quote, chaos, because President Trump has his sun conjuncting Uranus in his natal chart, which means this man is literally walking chaos. His hair, I think, is the example of that, right? That mane. Always got to look at the mane of a Leo rising. Look at that mane. So many people have asked me, Christopher, what is it that you see in the stars and the planets about what's happening geopolitically right now? And honestly, I've taken a little time to respond because I don't fully know yet. And I think all of us are in that same position, astrologers and whatnot. None of us are going to fully know. With Venus retrograde, that means that fate is taking over at this moment. So I do assume that, unfortunately, I think it was fated that we bombed Syria just recently. Any military action that's happened in this Venus retrograde would likely be fate. Just like I think it was a big play of fate that started World War I and a play of fate that started World War II. Do I think this is starting a world war? Not necessarily. In fact, what I think is actually happening as I observe President Trump and I look at the birth chart of the United States, I look at the birth chart of President Trump, I look at the present planets today and what's going on. There's many of old stories coming to a head, which I've brought up in the past. With Neptune in Pisces, the United States is facing karma with compassion to its own people. I definitely see that being in play. The last time we did this was the American Civil War. here we are again. Black Lives Matter, protesters, compassion for women, compassion for, the right to abortion. Like, all of our compassion points are being tested. That's certainly one thing. Another is Uranus in Aries, which is the evolution of the human ego. Unfortunately, the human ego usually doesn't evolve until it crashes into something. And that certainly seems to be the path we're on again. The last time Uranus was in Aries was the buildup of fascist Nazi propaganda and their political party. It was the buildup of Adolf Hitler's confidence and machoism that made him want to invade. We are, of course, all praying that that's not where this is all leading. But we do have issues as a world with going to war every time we want to get something done. We do have issues with killing others. We do have issues with going too far. It's been 2,000 plus years since Christ showed up on the earth, and we're still throwing rocks and sticks at each other every time we get pissed. So this recent full moon in Libra and the sun in Aries and conjuncting Uranus, whatever was going on for President Trump in that moment, whatever was going on for our war generals inside their personal stories, honestly is going to determine where we go. Are we going to continue on this path of aggression? And it may be that we do. I sincerely don't want that. None of us want that. Any of us who've been on the planet since Atlantis don't want that. But at the same time, as an astrologer and a spiritual philosopher, I question if these damn grasshoppers are going to learn until they hit their head against some sort of a wall. So we have this compassion story with Neptune and Pisces. We have this aggression story in play with Uranus in Aries. And we also have a play in control and in power. That's represented by Pluto in Capricorn. And honest to God, the last time the Earth rebooted its power structure was the birth of democracy with the United States. So this is, on the deepest level, the questioning of our very democracy. And I would say, yes, our democracy is threatened. Yes, our compassion for humankind is threatened. Yes, aggression going too far is threatened. These are all hot spots. Now, I have always known that the United States and the world would come to some sort of galactic head during this lifetime, that it would all come to some sort of apex. And I really think because of human history, we've simply done this too many times. There's too much information at our fingertips. In this next coming to a head, this will be the deciding point. What I mean by deciding point is, will we move back to the Garden of Eden, or will we move deeper into hell? It is human beings' choice. Now, here's the difference that we've never had before on the planet, and that is the high awareness of our world citizens. This is a time where, as things unfold, human beings are awake and aware. We have alternative printing presses where we can distribute information to each other. We have the ability to unite with each other just by hitting like and follow. So the truth is the world is coming to a head with some of its most deepest and troubling issues over its human history, but it's coming to a head at a moment when the world population is more awake than it has ever been, more educated than it has ever been, more evolved than it has ever been. And in my opinion, there are far more light workers and light walkers on the planet than there have ever been. What I have seen under President Trump is that a lot of the evils of the past are being exposed. So during the elections and during this whole process, the idea of rigging campaigns, the idea of FBI listening in on other people's conversations, the idea of people having hitmen to eliminate their opponents. Of course, this has always gone on. But when, as a society, have we actually discussed it out in the open? And when have we ever actually questioned our own behavior as a nation? Now, as far as looking at the events, I will say this. This Venus retrograde is basically a shift of America's feelings about something. It's hitting America's chart in the 4th house. America was feeling one way. It's now going to feel another way. My concern is this is the classic manipulation of a society in the sense that the media and all the events has made America feel compassionate for the children that were gassed in Syria. And the manipulation of our compassion for that situation talks us into aggression that we don't want to be in. So we are once again at the karmic point of, quote, weapons of mass destruction, end quote. And we have known from 9/11 that there's a lot of other theories about what really went on. And so we've seen this staging before of a, quote, terrorist attack and a, quote, attack on innocent people, quote, quote, and what are we going to do in response to that? Now, some of the hopefuls I do see here actually has to do with the fact that Rex Tillerson is our Secretary of State. And you may go, oh, he's a scumbag and he worked for Exxon. Well, yes, he actually is a master player in the world of oil. And at this point, I am praying that whatever chess moves that they're making is going to be one that settles this oil bullshit for once and for all on the planet. I think that our own clean energies have come far enough that we can actually compete now with the oil companies. We, as in the clean investors of good business and fair competition, Elon Musk, Tesla. There's a lot, again, it's like we see a lot of the old dogs barking, but we have a lot of solutions also side by side in play. At the end of the day, I feel that President Trump is going to expose even further of how corruption happens in government and world politics, and he may expose it from being the person who goes down for it. We may be going to investigate him and uncover all sorts of things. I do think that a lot of our dirt is being rooted out. I think, though, as world citizens and as light walkers, it is time to get your horses ready. With Saturn trining the sun and us finding the story we were born to live, if the earth is going to go to shift, what role are you playing in that new reality? And what are we going to do to prevent it from happening and help our fellow brothers and sisters learn once and for all that aggression and hoarding money and resources and allowing people to starve, all these things, we know damn better. And it's time for this to end. So we have to be prepared now to guide as much as we can. And when people hit the wall and realize this is not the way, be prepared with the alternate solution to go forward. So do I feel dark times ahead? I feel that sometimes are going to be damn challenging. I do think that we're going to have some rosy times to kind of fill our cupboards with food and prepare ourselves for what may happen. I think that looking at Trump's chart with a 29-degree Leo rising, the North Node will hit his ascendant and once and twice, actually, once at the end of this month and then again on May 10th. What that means is his ego will feel full and confident, and he will feel like he has the ultimate right to do anything he wants. Ironically, what will happen at that point is he goes into a karma transit, so whatever actions he takes is the beginning of his own deal with God and his own deal with karma. Thank God the actions, well, we'll see what they are. They begin in mid-May, but whatever those actions are, they are the start of our next story. I will end with a little psychic note that, and I just feel like as a psychic whistleblower, I'm a person that needs to say this, that, Syria is not what it seems. I feel like there's definitely some sort of an oil thing behind all of this. I think that all the players and the moves are changing right now. It's unseen how it will unfold. I'm grateful that we're having diplomatic relations with Russia because when it comes to Syria, I think it's a fight for oil and it's a fight between the East and the West, unfortunately. So put your heart and love and prayers out there that God provides the win-win solution so we can move to our enlightenment. All right, my friend, I hope you have a good and cloudy day thinking about your life and your future, and I hope you come to the person you want to become. Tomorrow it is launch time. And until then, remember, I love you, and live, love, be.